Now it's on. Okay, so welcome again. This is Manuel and I'm Elossa, and we will speak about heart path. And whatever comes to your mind, you are feel free to share.
Well, the first thing that comes is the beauty of those two words that really speak to my life. Both heart has been very present in my life, both because I forgot about it and then because I remember and all the beauty that it brought. And path also because my life sometimes feels like many lives, like this journey of learning and remembering the heart. So I feel very connected to this concept of the heart path. Yeah.
That's actually why I invited you here, because I want to listen also my heart wisdom and intuition, whom to invite to speak about it.
Yes. Yes, and so I follow your lead to school. What would you like me to maybe explain a little bit?
I think you can share whatever feels good for you, but of course I can ask also. So I would love to know if you want to share what are moments in your life or situation, or how, like, what is your story? How did you find? And of course it's never-ending process, of course, for all of us. So we are not ready at anyone, but
yes.
How did you find that you want to follow your heart, and something about that?
Yes. So I think what I found is that I wanted to live with my heart open, and I think this came very specific. The thought, because I realized I had lived with my heart closed, and when I was a child, I was very sensitive, and I'm still very sensitive, but I lost it. I lost the sensitivity, and that happened because my childhood was with all the challenges that a childhood, in this period where teachers were very rough and parents were rough as well if they needed. But in general, because my mother was sensitive and she protected the sensitivity in me, I managed to live with my heart open during my childhood, and I have very good memories of being out there, and being myself. That I think for me is the most important. And then when the teenager years came, there was a lot of trauma in my family, and to protect, I needed to close my heart, and I didn't even know. I think that is what happens. That when we close the heart, we forget there is another possibility. So I forgot my home in a way, and I didn't even know that I was lost. I thought that was how life was now, but of course it felt awful. So then, then I went through what I could tell maybe 2 awakenings. The first one was because I was for years sick, so I had a lot of pains, and the doctors told me that the pains were chronic, that I couldn't live without those pains. So I really thought my life had ended, and I was 20, 25, 26. So it was very dark years. But then something happened. Then, I met a friend, and my friend asked me 2 questions, and he saved my life. I can say it, it's amazing. He saved my life. So I started to walk, and I realized the more I walked, the less pain I had, and I was like, how is it possible? Because I couldn't walk because of the pain. But I think it was my mind was so afraid that the pain has blocked me. And then as I started to walk, the pain got less. And then I thought, oh, here there is something that I missed. There is some link in reality that I don't understand. And I started to be interested about the mind and the body. How do they work together? And yet, I was in a relationship. I had my wife, I had a child. So, I think what I most needed was just to live. So this opened a little bit. It's like, okay, here there is something I didn't get about what has been happening, but yet my life was, I was doing human rights. I had the chance to live in Africa and Latin America with my wife. I had Caetano, my son, and it was beautiful years, and yet I needed the second awakening. So the first one was like, okay, now I'm walking and there's less pain, and then I have another chance, because I thought that was it for me. But then I had another chance. That life told me, okay, there is more for you. And then I divorced when I was 32. So this was 6 years after that I divorced. And then was this second awakening, was the one that reconnected me with myself, because I realized, wow, I've been lost. Where have I been? I'm afraid, and I don't know what fear is. And I'm angry, I don't know where these feelings, all these emotions come from. And I realized I had been far from my feelings and emotions. And I started to be interested in this path. So the emotions and the feelings was a first step. And then third awakening, because there are so many in my path, there have been many. I was one day at home, I organized a workshop on emotional intelligence, because the moment I realized, well, this is so important. If we don't know what we feel, how can we treat our children, in a way that is good for them? Or how can I have a intimate relationship in which I know what is happening inside of me and communicate? So I organized this workshop, and then there was a sharing in the workshop that was very strong. Somebody was trembling and crying, and I was there. And I remember that day I went with a friend to swim, and I was feeling like, in my belly, like this. I say like when I watch a movie from Lars von Trier, that is very rough, very emotional, and it feels here. So I was feeling this, but I didn't pay much attention. I came home, I put a tea and some music, and I remember I went to the toilet, and when I sat in the toilet, something exploded inside of me, and I started to cry and cry, but I couldn't hold it. I just, my body, it has never happened. I was always in control, but I think my body has said like, okay, Manuel, this is it. Now this needs to open. And that was the moment, that third awakening, was that my heart said, yeah, it's been too rough to hold all these feelings, Manuel. There's a lot of grief and a lot of things you need to meet, and this is today. So, and I wasn't thinking, I just started to, and I couldn't stop, and there were waves coming, and I don't know how long it lasted. And I was seeing images of missiles and women crying, like also connecting with the pain of the earth as well. That is also part of this hard path to connect with a wider picture. And then at some point, I remember I fell to the floor because it was so strong. And then this was full of mucuses that I couldn't breathe because they were. And then I thought, wow, this pain that I'm now connected with, it's so big that I cannot put it out. So now it goes into this mucus. And then that was funny thought somehow, and I had a laughter attack. And I started to laugh and laugh and laugh. Exactly. Because the emotions are like this. But then it was hurting it wasn't funny, it was hurting of how much I was laughing. And I realized this is the same. This is the body just releasing because because of the trauma I went through, and all the news that life is dangerous, that there's gonna be a nuclear war, the global warming. We're bombarded by these fears. I have held and created a huge block, and now this did like that. So that was the moment, I would say, that I reconnected with my heart. And I think my path has always been my path. It's not that it changed when I reconnected with my heart, but then everything started to change. Everything started to look more beautiful, more alive. Yeah. So that was that part, and that was like 8 years ago. I think it happened that night. That was very important in my life, and it was like opening the eyes. It was like, oh wow, and feeling everybody has this. We are all carrying, this pain, and we don't know how to transform it, how to meet it. And,
Sounds very powerful experiences.
Yes.
I could see in my imagination that moment.
Yes. They were very powerful because the pain I went through was very powerful. There was a lot of it, and very lonely. I think this probably when we share is not only about how painful an experience is, but how lonely you are at an age where I would have needed more support. So then the opening had to be very powerful somehow.
What path is there some that invites you in this moment or in the near future? Of course, we don't have to know. We can just follow intuition and where it leads us. But what feels the most touching in your heart, like right now in your life, if you want to share?
Of course, it's a beautiful question. I think something that has always been within me is this, like meeting another human being from the heart. Always, and as a child I did it. I remember, and especially the people that are more lonely, or the people that are suffering. For me, it's like I have a big call to be there to listen, and in the way that it will manifest. So sometimes it has happened even in a train or random situations that somebody starts to talk and they cry, because I think they can, when you are with somebody like now that has the heart open, then it's easier to come here. And that has manifested like this conversation with friends, my friends that have needed. Sometimes, I did workshops, or I have people that come here and there is an exchange. So this is always, and this will always be with me, because I love people. I love people so much. I think we humans are amazing, and yet your question was very good, because if I go to now what is here, a big call is men, to work with men, because I think we have been programmed to close our heart since we're children. And I can see so many men carrying so much pain, and I think it's not fair. And I think we need, and also healing the wound of separation between men and women. I think this has also been programmed. We have been programmed to disconnect, because if we connect in love, my feeling is that we will remember that we are more than we have been educated to believe we are. That we are light beings, that we have so much in us. And I think this union has been targeted, so we don't remember. So this is some big calling that I feel, to work with men. I work with men already. And I think that is beautiful, and men are beautiful. So yeah.
It's beautiful. And I think that you have so much to give in that, because so many men, for example, are not used to, or they don't have malls, or they don't have the safety to cry together, for example, or show emotions in safe ways. So
Yes, I remember, you know, when I mentioned about this workshop in which something happened to me that then I had the opening. I remember in that workshop that I was facilitating, but I shared a little bit and I cried because at the moment I had intuition that it was important. And I remember one man told me that when he saw me, he felt embarrassed. And exactly, we have been so conditioned to think that it's too much, and then, you know, what happens is that the more we hold, the more scary it is to open, because there is so much that starts to be overwhelming. Whereas, you know, and this is why children and boys are so much teachers, because if you look at them, they cry every day. Every day. They find a reason.
yeah.
And now I'm in a period of my life where that happens as well. That almost every day I'm crying and I feel so happy, like I'm coming closer to be my natural, what is natural. And you know, it's not about crying, it's about the heart. It's about the heart. And well, now I thought about my son, for example. And it comes, and it is, yeah. So yes, I agree that women have been very conditioned, and because there are no models, exactly, we don't know how to find the way back. I think that is what is very, I think this is where suffering comes from. Like what happened to me, that I forgot I had a home here, you know, in me. It's not only that I went out of that place, so it's like two lost. I lost that place, but I lost the memory that that place existed. So then when you are here, this is suffering. When you are here, where I am now, it's like, it's hope. Because my home, I start to get back. Yeah. And yeah. So thank you to school. And it's beautiful also as a man and a woman and friends to share, because women also are a big support for us, because you have started the healing work as well all over the world, women, and I also feel that men as well. So we're finding each other.
Yeah.
Again, yes, big time. Yeah, because you know the separation is an illusion. So it's just a matter of time that we're coming back home, all of us. That I feel.
I feel the same. Much of hope when we truly start to listen our boundaries and needs and express feelings, not to press them, more express and freely, and notice that it's safe. I think it gives me maybe the most hope in the world, because I think everything is linked. How we protect nature, what we shop and why we shop, what we support, what
yes,
how we live,
completely.
what kind of track we live when we live,
yes,
what kind of companies we found,
yes,
or support, yeah, and how we cooperate, how we treat each other, how we treat ourselves. It's all linked to heart and emotions.
Completely. Because you know, when we protect from the pain, what happens is that we become less sensitive. So on the one hand, that is protecting, but it's not that the pain disappears, it's that we feel it less. But it's there, so how could we live create a world with less pain? We need to feel it. Because then we would say no, there is another possibility, like with food. But if we don't feel it, we will eat something that is bad for our body. So you are completely right. When this layer of protection falls, then we're more sensitive. And then we wouldn't relate the same way to the earth, to plants, to animals. We wouldn't shout or kick an animal, because when we feel, we know the animal is feeling as well. And you know, and this moment when this layer of protection comes is the most challenging, because we feel vulnerable. I think this is what happens. We have been for so long protected, But this protection is like, it makes us less sensitive. We feel less. So then there is this moment of vulnerability, but it's a vulnerability that is beautiful, because then there is power in love. There is power in shining our light, in being who we are. It's a different kind of power. It's not power over any. No. It's the power of life itself. Yes. So completely agree with you that this is the place where from here, we can create this world that we love and is for everybody. And the needs as well. That when you mentioned the word need, it touched me. Because that has been also something that I needed to remember, my needs.
And I think it happens to everyone, that sometimes we just close our hearts and then reach to. We need each other to help to open the heart again and to remember the love and who we truly are. Of course, sometimes it happens also alone, but it helps if there are mirrors who show how beautiful we all are. But I think, I don't know, I think, at least myself, I think I will be lost in my life, maybe all my life sometimes very present at home, and sometimes very lost and don't know where to go. And I think that is also a precious place to be, because then you truly stop and listen and look or feel what path really invites. Then we can reconsider and renavigate the way, and it comes more clear and clear why we are here and what are we doing and what truly touch. At least for me, there have been also so many things that I have thought that this is my hard work. Maybe it's partly, but not 100%. And then there have been some, for example, trauma, pain of being too much in responsibility or whatever, not feeling not being enough, or many kind of pains. And later I can notice that, okay, this is not totally, and now I think more I want to feel and find what is 100%, or at least 99 from the heart, and what feels more like playing, not so much working. And I can see, I can see that you give so much already in the world.
Yeah.
Just your presence and how much I have learned with you and from you, and it's I cannot put all of it in the words. Even it has been so healing.
Yes, likewise, that's for me as well. Yeah, and it's what you say. I think being who we are. That's the biggest present for ourselves and for the world. And I think also the hard work or the hard path, and calls me a lot the hard path that is wider than the world. Because you cannot not be in your path. It's impossible. So we're in our path, and and I love that you mentioned other people completely. You know my story. I told the story of what happened to me, that there were people like Eleonora calls them angels, that the light puts there for you. And I have those angels. Without them, I wouldn't be here, that I know.
Is there something you would still like to say or do, or some greetings for
the beautiful people? Well, to encourage everybody to connect with the hearts, and trust that life take us, that we are within a wider love field that love us. So because it's very scary, the you know, the shift, because it hasn't happened collectively so much. It is happening, but he has to encourage to go there, because then there are 100 treasures that we will find. So that could be. And thank you everybody, because you know, also everybody that is watching this video and have been connected to the hearts and have done so much for the world. So thank you also for everybody. And maybe I was thinking I could, you know, because the music take us to that place, and playing piano is something I love. So maybe as part of the video could be as my present and contribution to play from the heart and see what comes. Is that okay?
I would love to hear.
Great.